All right, what's going on, everybody? So, recently made some videos about the top 100 NFL players list that was made by the players. I also understand that someone told me that the list was made in around that November-December period, which I think is stupid. I think the list should be made after the end of the season, including the playoffs. But that list was formulated around that November December period. Still has some huge disagreements because I still believe that there were players that were dominant. They were dominant right before this list was even being constructed around that November period. That still, I don't know why that players like that, like Kenny Galladay, Kenny Clark, and Mitchell Schwartz. I don't know why those players weren't on the list. But because I'm a Bills fan, and the Bills were so dominant, especially on the defensive side of the ball, there were players that I expected to be on this list that were snubbed. So I'm going to talk about some of those players that I believe were snubbed, and you guys can let me know how you guys feel about that in the comment section if you guys stick around. So, getting around some players who I believe, some Bills players who I believe should have made this list, we're going to start with Tremaine Edmonds. Tremayne Edmond should have made this list, and I actually expected him to make this list. You're talking about a player that was he was more of as a project linebacker. People expected him to be a first round pick, but kind of like how quarterbacks are, right? Those big, tall, athletic type of players, those freak athletes that you just don't really see that much often. You kind of take a risk for them, and some teams will definitely reach higher, like the first round. The Buffalo Bills had to I think they had to trade back, of course, to get 2 first-round picks, but they got a guy like Tremaine Edmonds who a lot of teams felt like he was a reach. He was more as a project linebacker, right? He was 19 years of age. If you can get him right, the upside was going to be spectacular, but people just didn't think he was ready. And the Buffalo Bills got Tremaine Edmonds, and his first year had a rocky start until like the second half of the season. That's when you really saw his potential. And then the next year, Tremaine Edmonds played at a Pro Bowl level. And I think the scary part is his upside is Hall of Fame, Brian Urlacher type of level, in my opinion. He played at a Pro Bowl level. You're talking about a player that was improved. I mean, he improved a lot to the fact that he was one of the best coverage inside linebackers in the NFL. You want to talk about someone that definitely improved his game as far as becoming a really, really good run defender, right? The Buffalo Bills, if you look at them, they've had some phenomenal defenses, but one thing that they've struggled over the last decade is stopping the run. The Buffalo Bills finished in the top 10 because of Tremaine Edmonds. Yes, you got to give some credit to Jordan Phillips. Yes, you got to give some credit to the guys in the interior. But it was ultimately guys like Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano that was really, really, especially Tremaine, really, really good in the run game, becoming downhill tacklers, sideline to sideline type of guys because of Tremaine Edmonds' athleticism. You really get to see you really got to see Tremaine Edmonds on full display why he was a first-round pick and why people consider him to be a generational talent at 6'5", 250 pounds. But yeah, most importantly, it was him at 21 years of age, really calling out the plays, really diagnosing the plays, really trusting his instincts. That was one of the biggest complaints from his rookie year, was that he just doesn't really trust his instincts. He trusted his instincts a lot more this year, and it resulted the Buffalo Bills to becoming one of the best defenses in the NFL. Tremaine Edmonds, in my opinion, was an absolute snub, and I don't believe he would have been like a top 50 player or anything like that, but I feel like he would have been around those 90s, 80s section. I definitely thought that a lot of players had his respect, but clearly not. Another player that I felt like should have made this list that's been one of the more consistent players in the NFL, especially at his position at safety, is Jordan Poyer. I don't understand why Jordan Poyer honestly didn't make this list because Jordan Poyer has had some phenomenal seasons, right? 2017, when the Buffalo Bills brought him in, had a phenomenal season in 2017. 2018 had another great year, and then 2019. So he's had 3 straight solid years with the Buffalo Bills where he's played at a Pro Bowl level. You want to talk about a player that's kind of like Tyrann, that has that Tyrann Mathieu type of level, right? He can play in the slot. He can be that extra defender coming off the edge. He's that extra linebacker if you need him to, that can play against the run. He's very, very solid. Actually, no, he's one of the best safeties in the league in coverage when it comes to that zone coverage. Can play man-to-man again in the slot. I mean, he plays a very prominent role in the Buffalo Bills defensive scheme. And again, he's another reason why I think the Buffalo Bills, why that defense was so good. Again, he's very, very underrated. He doesn't really have a big name. I mean, to be honest, his girl is the only reason why people even know who he is, which is kind of disrespectful because Jordan Poyer is such a great player. I mean, like I said, Bush, she's very attractive, and I know she's a great young lady. But Jesus, I mean, we got to give some attention to Jordan Poyer, right? Bills fans just can't be the only person that knows who he is. He needs more respect. I thought clearly the players should understand exactly how Jordan Poyer, how he is, and how much of an impact he brings to that Buffalo Bills unit, especially because they're playing against them and because he's so good. Again, second on the team in tackles. He plays so many different type of he plays so many different type of roles in this defense. I just don't understand, in my opinion, especially how good that defense was because of guys like Jordan Poyer, the impact that they made. I don't understand how Jordan Poyer doesn't make the top 100. We're going to flip it to the offensive side of the ball, and one person who, in my opinion, should have made this list was Quentin Spain. Quinton Spain, very underrated player coming from the Tennessee Titans. His first year with the Buffalo Bills, dominant, very, very dominant year for Quinton Spain. Bills fans love to kind of criticize this offensive line, right? Josh Allen got sacked a lot, but people don't realize how good the offensive line was, right? It wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as people kind of make it out to be. Right? Some of it had to do with Allen. Some of it had to do with the offensive line. Some of it had to do with, the breakdown, pretty much the breakdown of the play. Some of it had to do with play calling. I mean, I don't really put everything on the offensive line, but so when people say that the offensive line was bad, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they had some good offensive linemen. Deion Dawkins was a very solid left tackle. Quentin Spain was the best of them all, in my opinion, but had a very dominant Pro Bowl level season. You're talking about a player that allowed 0 sacks, but was also the alpha male as far as that offensive line. A phenomenal run blocker. Matter of fact, in my opinion, one of the best run blockers in the NFL. I'm actually kind of shocked he didn't make this list. Had a very, again, he was extremely underrated with the Titans. Kind of played that same type of role he did as, more of that alpha type of male with that Tennessee Titans, but more as a run blocker. But again, I was more impressed with how he was at pass protection. Very impressed with that. He improved a lot in that area of pass protection. A guy that kind of he showcased to me on my screen, man. I mean, the dude showed out, man. He was the first person I saw. He impressed me the most out of anybody in the offensive line. And again, the Bills had some solid guys like Mitch Morse and Deion Dawkins. And compared to how it was in 2018, this offensive line was a huge step up compared to what it was. And a huge reason why was because of guys like Quentin Spain on the offensive line. So I was kind of shocked that Quentin Spain also didn't make the top 100 Buffalo Bills list. Guys like Deion Dawkins, Micah Hyde, those guys arguably could have made this list. And again, I get criticized a lot because I think that Josh Allen should have never made the list. I still believe that. He should have never made the list. Jordan Poyer should have made the list. Tremaine Edmonds should have made this list. Quentin Spain, all three of those guys arguably could have made the list. And again, Micah Hyde and Deion Dawkins could have, and Matt Milano also. Those are guys that you can make arguments for as well that could have made the list for the Buffalo Bills. So anyway, guys, if you guys like the video, if you guys, matter of fact, name some players, if you guys can, that you feel like were snubbed or should have made this list for the Buffalo Bills, or, some players that I didn't get at that had a pretty big impact on the team that should have definitely potentially made this list. Let me know, and we can definitely hash it out and talk about that in the comment section below. Anyway, Gen 716, go Bills, stay safe. I'm out. Peace.